Okay, June 5th. June 5th, 2004, former President Ronald Reagan passes away in his home in California from pneumonia. This was a complication due to the Alzheimer's that he had. He'd been diagnosed in 1994 of Alzheimer's, so about 10 years earlier, about 5 years after he left office. So he's elected 1980, 84, left office in 89, was very active in his retirement, giving speeches, and really trying to advocate and lobby for the Brady bill, which was a gun control bill, the line item veto, which would give the president the ability to go into a bill and veto individual lines or individual items, not just the whole bill. A constitutional amendment requiring a balanced budget, really focusing in on deficit spending and making sure that we had a balanced budget, and the repeal of the 22nd Amendment. So the 22nd Amendment is the one that limits the president to 2 terms. The first president limited by that was Dwight Eisenhower, and Dwight Eisenhower was very much against it. He felt like it really, wasn't the will of the people, right? The people, if they wanted to vote for somebody a 3rd term, they should be able to, and B, really kind of hamstrung the president in his 2nd term because that people knew he wasn't going to run again. So he goes back, he gets Alzheimer's, and then he gives his final speech. This was his final public speech. He says, "I have recently been told that I am one of the millions of Americans who will be afflicted with Alzheimer's disease. At the moment, I feel just fine. I intend to live the remainder of my years God gives me on this earth doing the things I have always done. I now begin the journey that will lead into the sunset of my life. I know that for America, there will always be a bright dawn ahead. Thank you, my friends, and may God always bless you." And so that was his final speech. And so when he passed away, he was 90 years old and some days. And so he surpassed John Adams as the oldest living president, longest lived president. So John Adams had held the record up until that point. That's now been surpassed. And actually, at that point, Herbert Hoover and John Adams were the only 2 that had lived into their 90s. Now, Reagan's record was surpassed by Gerald Ford, which was surpassed by George H.W. Bush, which was surpassed by Jimmy Carter now. So Jimmy Carter is now the longest lived president. So that's what we have for today. In 2004, former President Reagan dies of pneumonia in his home in California. I will see you tomorrow.